thankful for life, for health, and strength. The sun is out. We are here at the Street 91.9 FM, the western part of Tobago, disputed by some as the better part of the island. And I am just the referee in this dispute because I am kind of from the north. And we started this program last week. And of course, the philosophy of the program is to discuss the matters pertinent to Tobago on a political front, on a social front, on a governance front. We have to discuss all issues related to the development of Tobago. And I have been hosting and for the past few sessions, and there are going to be others that will be hosting from time to time. And we have been discussing some very pertinent matters. We started with Secretary James on last Friday, discussing some infrastructural stuff and of course the work that they've been doing at the division, the impact on the politics of Tobago, the impact on the development of Tobago, discussing some of the challenges that he has been facing and so on, and continue to face. And then, of course, we had our second show where we spoke to members of the interim leadership of the Tobago People's Party, talking about the importance of the launch of the party, the development so far, and a very, very special public meeting that will be held this coming Sunday at the Speyside High School grounds from 4 p.m. And so, we've been having interesting conversations, and then of course on Wednesday we had a sit-down rather extensive conversation with Secretary Ian Pollard, Secretary for Settlements and Rural Development, and kind of bringing information about what's happening in the settlements landscape, what's happening with housing, and the different grants that they have to offer and so on. Very, very useful, very informative program. This morning, we are going to be joined shortly by a very dear friend, Mr. Anselm Richards. We are going to be discussing security. We're going to discuss safety and security in general in the Tobago space. We're going to discuss the impact of that on the Tobago economy. We're going to discuss matters relating to Tobago's development from an economic standpoint and so on, what governance and what a government should be doing in this kind of climate. We're going to try and have an extensive discussion along those lines. So that is what the program promises to be this morning. We are happy for those of you that are joining us on the live this morning. We've been trying to set this up so that those of you who follow stuff online can be a part of the conversation. I want to also say to you that one of the components that we want to introduce to the program is to be able to interact with you, and as of now we can start the interaction via WhatsApp. So you can send a WhatsApp if you so desire. The number is 685-1988, 685-1988. You can send a WhatsApp. We won't be able to take your calls, at least not yet, but you can send us a WhatsApp. Perhaps a matter that you feel we can raise, or if there is a question, we will try to answer. We do not claim to have superior knowledge on any of the matters, but we will try to answer and try to get you into the conversation. So we expect you to jump in. I am excited about the program because I think that there are so many different matters that we need to talk about, so many things happening in the Tobago space, so many things happening in the national space, and so that impacts what happens in Tobago. And so we want to keep the population informed. We want to give, in another sense, our side of the story, because this program is a TPP production. we want to say that it is a production of the Tobago People's Party, and we want to put that in the mix and so on, and we are very excited about what has happened on the party front. Those of you that have been following everything that has been happening, you see how we have evolved and where we have come from. Our political journey, even to the corridors of power, has not been a very easy one. It has been one that has been punctuated by different challenges, different seasons, constant battles and fight and ups and downs and so on, but we have stood strong and remained steadfast and united as a team. And I believe that God has been behind all that has been happening, in the sense that in terms of sustaining and keeping the team together, because the kind of things that we have faced already, I believe, that could have decimated the entire team. But we have been the beneficiaries, in my view, of divine assistance, because I am one of those who of the view that promotion comes not from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. God is judge, set it up one and pull down another, and that applies in jurisdictions, in governments, and so on, organizations across the board. And so I believe that the governance of a country is the governance that that particular country deserves, wherever that country is, whatever is the state of that country, the people that live there. And while it is true that people are the vehicle that God used to get men and women into places of power, ultimately He is behind who gets set up and who gets pulled down. And there is a time for everything under the sun, and the time just came for a change of political leadership in this place that we call Tobago. And because of that, we have a brand new leadership in place, and we are executing our leadership to the best of our ability and trusting God to assist us as we go along. And so we've come a long way, and we do not take credit necessarily for everything that has happened. We believe that there's been a divine component, and we can't stop saying that. So, we're getting ready to jump into a very juicy conversation. I've just been joined by my friend and our guest today on the program, Mr. Anselm Richards. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, and welcome to Tobago Speaks.
Good morning again. Good morning to you. Good morning to you are.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Well, and as you can look across there, we are in the World Wide Web, going live. If you're on the moon, you could hear Tobago Speaks. You understand, once you have the connectivity.
That's a good place to be.
Indeed. I mean, Anselm, let's jump right into it. You have been, in terms of your background and so on, you have a history in security and safety, being a member of the Protective Services in another dispensation. You have served in what was called the Citizen Safety Program some years ago, under the auspices of the Ministry of National Security. You have also been in the political mix, adding your voice and so on. And in more recent times, a special advisor to the Ministry of Finance here in the THE. We want to jump off by talking about the present climate in Tobago as it relates to safety and security. What are your general thoughts?
Definitely, we are facing an insecurity, an emerging insecurity challenge. We have seen that last year with about 14 million, which is a precedent in Tobago history, the DNA of Tobago.
Yes.
At this time, as we speak, I think we have 4 murders already for 2024, which is uncharacteristic of Tobago social DNA and our traditional, tight-knit community, social bonding that we have as a people, that we had,
right,
as a people. So we are seeing an emerging and evolving culture of violence. And what is troubling, these activities are primarily being committed by firearms. So there's a wave of violence that is consuming the island. It's a very small island, 60 square miles. We are just bordering about 65 to 66,000 inhabitants.
Yes.
What I will say here is that those physical characteristics in human dimension cannot withstand violence in society. And therefore that will be a very devastating social impact on Tobago and visitors to Tobago alike. So we have to respond to that in a particular way. There are some facts that we need to look at as we try to attack and fool what is really driving this criminal intent, this wave of gun violence on the island and in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad is another kind of higher level conversation that needs to take place. But I think that there is some kind of spillover effect of the two islands and the inter-island traffic and trade that takes place and the relationship and human relationship between persons on the two islands.
Yes.
So I think that there is some kind of association spillover effect that is taking place. But in Tobago, we as a community, as a very homogeneous community, needs to respond to that collectively. The challenge that we face in Tobago as an administration, as an island government, is the fact that we have no legal and constitutional jurisdiction over the internal security arrangement for the island.
Yes.
Because of how the country is set up constitutionally and the legislative field that flows from that constitutional arrangement. So therefore we have to be creative in creating and engineering our response and designing our response so that we can get the maximum impact. Our best ally and our best partner for this is really re-engineering our socialization issues, how we socialize our people.
I'm going to ask you to just throw your voice a little more for the purpose of those on the live.
Yeah.
Those on the radio hear you very well, but those on the live just
one of our best ways is to really go back to or try to re-engineer the traditional way of how we socialize our children, how we socialize each other. That is being challenged now by the whole emerging digital space in which we live. People are not interacting in the physical sense as they used to long ago.
Right.
The children are not playing in communities and learning life skills and how to share rules and how to resolve disagreement. Those things are not happening to the degree and intensity that they used to happen before we had this digital reality that we are living in now.
Yeah.
So therefore we as leaders and as parents have to re-engineer the way we expose our children to social interaction. We have to even guide them in the household in a different way and a different time we are living in. The world has changed, the region has changed, Trinidad and Tobago has changed, and Tobago has changed. And we have to take note of those realities.
Yes.
And we cannot sit back and just allow the thing to evolve without intervening and trying to put the island and the way we live in a particular zone. So that is something that we need to change.
You know, I wanted to ask you, I mean, it is not that people have not, been in altercations in the past. It's not that people have not had disagreements, and there were always elements in the society that had a propensity to engage in nefarious activity and so on. Perhaps, maybe not in the quantum as present, but they were always there. And there was a time, as you mentioned, the proliferation of guns in this space, that people may have opted for another type of expression to appease their anger or to resolve a matter, a dispute. Yes. A man may have had just fist was available, so there may have been a fist fight in an attempt to resolve some kind of matter. It is not that we are promoting that, but that may have been the mode at that time. Or
the first line of defense.
Indeed.
A
big stone, a bottle, a piece of wood. In the extreme case, cutlass and a knife and those kind of things. But because guns are so easily available in this space, you understand? Because a man will use whatever he has at his disposal, in my view, to resolve whatever crisis or he thinks that crisis should be. Because the truth is, actually, no matter what security infrastructure that we put in place, you cannot police everybody at the same time. You can't have a policeman in every country, in every corner and that kind of thing. So the point you're making about the messaging and the forming of individuals in whichever space, whether it's in home, the school, the church, or whatever, so that this assists them in making better choices when they face these type of situations.
Yeah, that is exactly what we need to do, because if we build a security like I observe they are trying to do in Trinidad and Tobago, in the presence of militarizing the policing, putting more police boots on the ground, that may be required. But anytime your strategy is to build a national safety, on the presence of law enforcement, it is unsustainable, because you have just made the point, say that you cannot have a policeman everywhere, every time, in every situation. And therefore, the sustainable level of safety and security in any society is the way we socialize people, the way we interact, and those social controlling factors. When you were growing up, you know that if you commit a crime and they lock you up, it's shame for your family. And those were restraining social conditions that prevented us from getting into the activity that will bring shame and disgrace to your family, your friends, your community. Those things are no longer seemingly important and are driving the conduct of individuals in our society. And therefore, when that is married with the availability of the proliferation of small arms, and if we understand what a firearm is designed to do is to kill. You know, it is the most efficient. It is the most efficient device that is available to commit murder. Firearm. And therefore, if you have a proliferation of that in your society, it is expected that the antecedent will be an increasing gun violence, and adjacent to that is a murder rate that will be spiraling out of control. And that is what we are experiencing in Trinidad. How are we responding to that is really the issue. Because doing all the analysis and understanding all the parameters that are involved and coming up with policies and programs and so on, those are good. Those are good. But coming up with the program is one thing. What is really meaningful and impactful is the implementation and execution of those programs to completion. We have not been good at that as a in Trinidad and Tobago. We come with all the high-level policy conversation and programming, and we put the money aside to do that. But then efficient implementation, efficient and effective implementation and monitoring and evaluation to see whether the program is delivering the impact it has been engineered and designed to do. Those things are not happening in any structured and organized way. We are just doing things in a kind of laissez-faire, anyhow manner in this country, which really does not serve the interests of the population of Trinidad.
So you think that as a people that we perhaps have not challenged these systems and what has emerged as a culture of laissez-faire approach. So the issue of assessment, monitoring, and so on, and looking at, because I believe that every government, every administration will have some kind of policy that they think will treat with the state in the society.
I'm saying that the government will have those policies.
The
government and its technical team and advisors will engineer the responses after analyzing the problem. You'll come up with the program, you'll come up with the funding. But when it comes down the public sector settings, look for implementation, which is really the intervention. The intervention, there's a procedure, there's a process. So you analyze, you formulate, and then you move now to the implementation. That is where the rubber hits the road.
So let us go.
And the point I'm saying, the point I'm making is that in the public service, that is not being done efficiently and efficiently. Implementation, consistency, measuring, evaluating, monitoring, following the processes, understanding why things are not happening, making the changes, bringing the additional resources that are necessary. Those things are not happening in this country in any organized, deliberate, and structured and consistent manner. And that is something we have to fix as a people. The other thing is that the society is so structured, and we could use Trinidad and Tobago at the universal level as an example. You have a country called Trinidad and Tobago, you have Tobago, you have Trinidad, right? By constitutional construct. So there's no equality and fairness in how this thing is organized constitutionally.
Right.
Tobago by constitution is being subjugated to the wills and fancies of other states.
Of course.
There is no real provision in the constitution to be able to stand up and say, hey, quarter speed. Look at what Scarborough is saying. Listen to what Scarborough is saying.
Yes.
These are our realities.
Right.
These are how we think we should fix them. These are the resources we want as a people. This is how we want to collaborate. This is how I think we can change the national dynamics if these things are happening.
Right.
That doesn't present itself.
Yes.
You sit in Scarborough, you analyze the requirement of the people of Tobago, you condition against that of the national reality, you send your proposal, and I'm talking about the budgetary process here.
Yes.
You send that to quarter speed, and then without even consultation or voting to you, they make a decision for Scarborough.
Indeed.
And they absolutely nothing you can do. But let us get back to the matter.
Yeah, but because I wanted to focus on the Tobago reality now, and what must we do to treat with this squeeze that is upon us. I mean, we are aware that the constitutional relationship and so on has us starting the race at a disadvantage. Nonetheless, though, we have to find a way to survive until that change.
Yes.
You understand?
Definitely.
So, what in your view, as a person who is involved in the finance corridor of, let me put it that way, of the Tobago governance and so on, what have you been observing the government has been doing and its effectiveness and so on? What's your thoughts on that?
Right. So if you go to, I don't want to get too theoretical we want to talk to the people who are listening.
Yes.
So in the analysis of crime, there are some things that they call the fountainhead of crime.
The what?
The fountainhead.
Fountainhead, yes.
Yeah, the fountainheads of crime.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the real factors, like the availability of gun, the social condition. Some people will say property is not an excuse for crime, but property do inspire people to look for things to eat.
It is a contributor. It is a contributor.
So those things. So in that context, what we have seen and what we have done coming into office is that we have looked at the living conditions of Tobago. Right? And we could speak to Europeans today.
Yes.
With a certain level of precision where that is concerned.
Yes.
So we have looked at that and we see these persons who are working in this program cannot survive on the current income. Alright? And the social and economic strain and stresses that are knitted in that limited income could cause their families to be exposed, to be tempted to engage in unlawful conduct. Just to inform their survival.
Yes.
Or to impact their survival.
Yes.
And therefore the administration will make a decision to bring this group of workers up to speed towards what we have defined as a living wage. And that has changed. The income has increased 100%. Right? And that has changed their social and economic reality. That have capped. That has capped to some extent the social and economic fountainhead of crime. And reduce the social and economic pressure that they force those individuals and their siblings and their associates to get into unlawful and illicit conduct. So that was an immediate intervention by the current administration. We have looked at the situation further, and it's not a new intervention. It's something that I've been tabled when I was around in the PRDI some time ago, about the establishment of a Department of Public Safety.
Yes.
Right? And this administration, the Chief Secretary, have taken that ball and have run the distance with it. We are at the point where we have done the research, we have done the legal analysis through a consultant. I think he had mentioned it in the last debate in the House. And we are at the point where we are now rationalizing for the implementation of that. What we are going to do, we are going to amalgamate into one department all the entities in the THA, TIMA, the Forest Rangers Department. We are going to execute the provision of the law that provides for to be able to have litter wardens, traffic warden, the game what will come under that, our lifeguard, public health. So we are going to create that department of public safety and security that will give the THA, and the law provides for that, and it will also include the THA police. So it will give us a layer of security just under what the national police provide, and basically. So we have a wider net of presence in the
Right.
public space.
Right.
So and the protection of spaces, like where we have visitors attraction and so forth, we can deploy the THA resources in those areas, and on the estate of Tobago, which the THA has control over, they will have the same level of law enforcement authority as the police under the Supplemental Police Act.
Yes.
So we have done the legal research. So that is one of the intervention that this administration is pressing ahead to implement soonest.
Right.
So
so that's two things that we mentioned there.
Right.
One, improving the wage for those at the lower end of the totem pole.
Yes.
Secondly, the billing out of the Department of Public Security and Safety for Tobago.
Yes. And that second one is informed by the reality.
Yes.
And by the international and human convention that the first and primary responsibility of any government is the protection and safety of the life and property of the citizen.
Right.
And to deny any government that is make the government impotent.
Right.
And this administration does not decide to sit down and be impotent in the protection of the people.
Right.
Impotency is not part of our culture.
Let me ask you now this. So we are pressing ahead with this system, right? That is to treat with the emerging security and safety challenges that we are facing in the Tobago space. Why are we doing that? You know, there is increased movement between the islands, right? While not at all saying that Tobago is a social utopia, but how do we manage the imported elements of crime?
Right. So what has been happening is that the Chief Secretary has been having conversation with all the security division, police that are related to that kind of protection. So the police, Coast Guard, Army, the Port Authority, the Airport Authority, prisons and so forth. So we have been having those conversations to see where the gaps are in the system.
Yes.
Right? We have had a conversation of the acquisition of a vehicle scanning machine, because we know that most of the illicit and illegal contrabands have come through the port on vehicles, and they need to have the technical infrastructure to really examine those vehicles in a quick manner without causing any kind of backup on the port and delays. So we have been discussing this, and it's not a new conversation. I can tell you that this conversation was taking place since Martin Joseph was Minister of National Security.
Because I am aware.
I was part of a committee that was selected to go to England to look at these things and all of that.
Yes.
And that never really happened. The implementation, as I said earlier, is always a challenge. And has been a challenge for us as a people. So we have been having those conversations. The Chief Secretary would have written to the Prime Minister as the Prime Minister head of the National Security Council, and I could speak to that with some level of authority and precision, requesting a meeting for us to discuss the issue or the emerging trend of violence and insecurity in Tobago as Chairman of the National Security Council and Prime Minister. And the legal pathway for that was the provision of the Tobago Assembly Act, Section 31, that provides for the Prime Minister and the Chief Secretary to have regular meetings to discuss matters of harmonizing policy for the advancement of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we have activated that provision and written to the Prime Minister and asked him for a meeting. I think the Chief Secretary will be the best person to tell you how the Prime Minister responded to that request. So that is an issue. So we have been reaching out because security is a priority for this administration.
Sure.
So we have been doing all those things, and the Chief Secretary is insistent that if the resources is available, whatever technology is required at the port of entry to protect the people of Tobago, and he has the resources, he is going to work with the port authority and make that technology available so that we can provide a safer Tobago for Tobagonians and visitors to the island, including our brothers and sisters who come from Port of Spain, who come from Trinidad to enjoy and to be with us and to share, our culture and our heritage.
Yes.
Right?
And I know, and I think we need to say this too, because the administration have been very supportive of the law enforcement agencies in the Tobago. And I know that the THA has given support to the TTPS, with the joint operations and so on, providing some hardware and all that hardware, meaning transportation and housing and that kind of thing. The teacher has also been supportive in the prisons in doing upgrades and providing mattresses and those kinds of things. So the Tobago government, by virtue of its actions, is demonstrating a willingness to give support even to things that does not fall under our purview. Because we are concerned about our citizens, it is our problem.
But and as I said, the constitutional and legal setup of Trinidad and Tobago is flawed. It's constitutional is flawed.
Yes.
And, right? So if you start with some wrong, you can't make it.
Right.
So as a country, we have to fix that. And for me,
yes,
we have to start talking about building a new nation.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a wide array of parameters
and implications.
So we wouldn't get into that today, but there is a need for us to start building a new nation, right? And we have seen that the current one, as constructed and has operated over the last how many years, it has not been really servicing the needs of the people of Trinidad and Tobago in any effective and efficient. Some people are fat, and some people are poor, and some people are skinny.
Yes.
Right? And that is because the country is not balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And nobody can dispute that.
Yes.
And if you go in certain places in Tobago, you will see the social and economic condition under which some people are living. Yes. And if you go west of Trinidad, you will see how some people are living. And if you go right to the beat, you will see how other persons are living.
Right.
And then we have to understand how these things impact on the psychology of people, how it impact on the interaction with the society, because they feel like they don't have a stake.
Right.
And they will be rebellious. Right?
So let me ask you this now. No, there are a myriad of programs and opportunities that the government has in train to try and treat with some of these challenges, particularly for young people and so on. I mean, every division of the THA has some kind of program running and so on. People expect the government to do, some people remember that government to do everything, but the kind of island that we are attempting to build, in my view, requires not just people that are dependent, but people that are independent in the sense of developing their own skills and abilities, being contributors to, rather than people that are dependent on. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
You understand? And let us talk now about, because we have had a kind of construct, especially on the employment landscape, where by design, we have upwards of about 65 to 70% of the population and the working population are employed by the teacher and dependent on the center for their sustenance and so on. What does that do in terms of the economy of Tobago and the advancement of Tobago and the kind of island that we have in our minds by design? Talk about that.
But let me tell you, that economic model,
yes,
where the economy of Tobago is 90% dependent on THA spending, is totally unsustainable.
Right.
The growth and development of the island of Tobago is dependent on a growing, expanding, developing, innovating, and creative private sector.
Yes.
I always say private sector, we ain't talking about the division and the hardware and the We're talking about every individual in a private capacity should tap into, exploit, and explore their creativity and their ability to accumulate and produce. Right? And we have to have that kind of open conversation with our people. Right? I know in the past that people feel when people come into you and asking you for a work, it makes you feel like a king.
Yes.
That is unsustainable,
yes.
That is foolish,
yes.
And that doesn't help the island.
Well, there's a saying in the Nigerian on the Nigerian jurisdiction, they are predominantly Igbos and Yorubas.
Yes.
And the Yorubas generally believe that their sustenance, salvation is in the king.
Yeah.
Right? So you find that there's a kind of reverence and that they give among the Yorubas as it relates to the king, whether it's the prime minister, the king as in a monarchy, or whoever is at the top man.
Yes.
However, among the Igbos, the saying among the Igbos, there's no king in Igbo land. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning that we are people that are charting a course for ourselves.
Right.
You understand? So it is not just dependent on somebody else, but as you said, discovering our own abilities and engaging those abilities for the betterment of the whole.
Exactly. And what government needs to do is to empower the individual.
Yes.
Encourage the individual. Create an enabling environment. Create pathways, opportunities for private creativity and private businesses to blossom, to produce, to manifest.
Yes. I like that word.
To manifest.
Yes.
You know, so we have to go back now to some of the basic fundamental of the. We have to provide an education system that where teachers don't only teach.
Well, that's a whole program. As a one education, that's a whole program.
No, let me tell you something. Yes. One of the major problems in today and in Trinidad, we have an army of teachers who only teach.
Yes.
They only teach. Teaching is a tool to effect learning. Learning cannot wait.
Right.
We can have children going through primary school for 7, 8 years, and when they come out, they can't read it. I mean, no learning takes place. I'm paying teachers to teach for 7 years.
Listener. I got some information.
Let me lead that one.
Yes, because I figured that's a Pandora box.
I'm very passionate about this thing going on in education.
Yes.
And if people follow my history, I have been saying since I work at the PLDI that we need to deal with what is happening in the schools. We have, for me, scrap tutor, whoever teacher can function, performance-based function.
Yes.
You're paying them to teach for learning. At the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for the results of the strike.
Right.
You teach a child for a year and you fail it.
Yes.
When you are failed as a teacher,
Yes.
you have to deal with those issues, but don't leave that for another.
Yes.
So,
right. So we're talking about some of the things that government has done and is doing. We've agreed on the providing the kind of environment for people to thrive, providing opportunities and so on. You know, but there are still, but we're doing this because the THA is doing a significant amount of work in terms of doing that.
If you go back to the budget,
yes,
and you look at the youth and sports and community development, you will see the myriad of programs and training opportunities that are being implemented for young people and not so young people and so forth, and to build community cohesion and community efficacy and all of that. Those things are happening. The problem we have is participation.
Yes.
Right? And we have to go back out into the ground, on the ground, and all those things. Sometimes we have to tweak the program to bring it to their level of consumption.
Right.
You know, we have those little nuances in this space.
Yes.
Right? This is a very new administration, and we are collecting the data, we are doing the observation, and we are doing the analysis. And I'm certain that the kind of work that we are doing, we are going to even train people on the block.
Yes.
Because the technology is available.
Right.
Once we have the connectivity, we can go, because sometimes you have to reach them where they are, and you have to give them the day one.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? You have to give them the day one. Reach them where they are.
Yeah, you know.
Because they know that these young people, to bring them in a community center, in a school, to do a training,
right.
It is a difficult exposition.
Yes. And you know that's a salient point that you're making, because one of the flagship program, I could say safely, of the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and so on, is the skills training that is actually, the registration is going on right now, that we do every year for like about 6 months. And we had about 30 plus skill areas that we were providing and so on. And we find that still we were not capturing, you know, the target group that we're going after with comprehensiveness.
Exactly.
You understand? And it was true going and talking to some of the guys on the block and so on, and they were saying that, you know, you need to introduce some other things to the program. And coming out of that, we have been able to introduce, like last year and this year, like small boat engine repairs and stuff in solar solar-related, works and those kinds of things. And some other things that we are now adding to the program because we now have a better sense of some of the things that interest the young people, because we can make the mistake of sitting at the center and prescribing without actually doing the diagnosis on the patients.
Yes, and you know what another program that we need to really look at critically? Repairs of cell phones.
Yes.
The repairs of cell phones and other electronic devices. These young people are into that. That is a significant individual creativity and an opportunity for small businesses. I think that in every community or every village in Tobago, we should have a parlor, and I'm calling it a parlor. And not because I want to degree, but we should have an establishment. Let me elevate it.
Yes.
We should have an establishment in every village that has a gap where a young person or young persons are there repairing these devices.
Yes.
And creating employment. We have 2 or 3 persons working in that.
Yes.
Because the proliferation of cell phones and smartphones in the space requires that kind of support infrastructure in the community.
That is true.
Right? And if you're talking about building a digital society, that is part. I just imagine you have that, and attached to that, there is a computer facility, a room where a person can come and apply for a program, a housing grant, and so forth, or apply for the visa online and get the technical assistance. Or a person has a device at home and the computer going on, they could call the repair shop and the person could go and do the booting up and analyze what is happening, so the child at home can get online to do his or her studies and so forth. Those things are critical now in the time we are living in.
Indeed.
And therefore, one of the strategy, and I know that I have spoken to Mr. Gazma about that is something this administration is pursuing with alacrity.
Yes. I mean, to be blatantly honest, I never thought about that, and that is so right in our face.
Yes, in our face. I spoke to Mr. Gazma about it, and she lifted up the ball and she said, yes, I'm going to build up the parameters and we're going to move and so forth. So it is in your division.
Yes.
So we are going to follow through and ensure that facility and those facilities are established. We are not going to do it in one drive.
Right.
But we are going to build this out incrementally.
Yes.
And we are going to train our young people in the repair of these devices.
Because you know what, one of the things that is in my mind and I'm working on now, you remember the facility in Patience that used to be the NIC.
Yes.
It is my plan. I have been wrestling with it since we started to have what we are calling the Tobago Skills Training Center. And we have to start. We've been trying to perfect the thing, and it is like a beast that we're trying to wrestle to the ground.
Yeah.
But I think even this particular skill is one of those things that must be front burner in a setup like this because of how important that kind of service is to the society.
Exactly. We need to get that going. We also need to recognize that where the world is heading, and because of the digital space we are operating in, is that the jobs that are being created is in the technical and skill area.
Yes.
The traditional thing of the business management, the linguistic thing, those are good enough. But what we have to do, we have to train and develop skills we call market-ready, industry-ready skills among our young people. So if we are training people in skill development, we're training them for the construction sector, electrician, plumbers, those persons who are now doing the electronic wiring for these buildings because it's a whole digital platform, these businesses are being managed now. There's no manual, there's a whole computerized building, there's an intelligent building.
That's smart building.
Exactly, that's smart building, an intelligent building. So we have to train our people with those skills so they could read the blueprint, they can execute the work at a high level, they can even transition to global industry, up the region, globally. We are giving them 21st century global skills. We have to empower our young people. Then we don't look at only those who get 5 levels and they never say no. You see those who maybe 2 when they went through the secondary school and they could read and write, and our teachers, some of our teachers ensure that they learn. Because we're teaching the teachers and then we're ensuring you. Right? And we'll talk to our way of coding them. Hacking and what that. Right? But those who can read and write and those who can't read and write, we will help them to read and write, and then we're going to train them in the area of their choice.
Yes.
Because innovation, because it's in the technical field that innovation and creativity really matters. If you have to innovate, you have to teach our children engineering, maths, science, physics, chemistry. Yes. Those are really the enabling skills that drive creativity in our and produce new things and new items and changing the way things work and create new solutions and intervention to our problems. Yes. So we have to look at this in a very dynamic way.
Let me ask you this, Anthony. Most of the minds in Tobago that want to explore and expand, intellectually and so on, tertiary education have to traverse, go to Trinidad and weekends and that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
And then not everybody who may have maybe intellectually inclined may have the infrastructure to sustain that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And so we find that in the Tobago space that some of the technical capacity that is required to drive the Tobago in the place that we want to go, that we find oftentimes it looks like we have to import some of these skills.
But the situation will get more aggravated when you look at what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a tertiary, or let me say, a tertiary grant program, right, where the THA support Tobagonians who are going to study at university.
Yes.
Go and do the analysis. And I think it's under secretary. Let them do the analysis and see how many persons the THA are funded to do their doctorates and they become doctors and they do their masters and their first degree. And let us see how many of those persons are working back on island. Because what happened?
Yes.
Because of the way the Tobago economy is structured and the way the country is structured. When our young people go off to these universities and study, some of them, let me put it very lively, some of them find husband,
yes.
Some of them find wife,
yes.
Then I come back, right? Some of them, when they look at the economy, they come back for a thing because the economy is a small island economy and we're not getting the kind of capital investment that we need to get. Because let me tell you something.
Yes.
If you want to change and go into the economy, it requires money. It requires investment capital. And the THA can't borrow, and we get $160 million to do development into the nice cottage industry. Like cottage industry.
To say the least.
To say the least, like cottage industry, like they're making mango and jam, like foolishness.
Yes, the man say Tobago mango does leave here green and come back up red. That is another conversation.
Right? So we have to understand the dynamics that are happening. So we invested in building human resource capacity because that is the most productive resources we have. So training and educating our people to come back. But we're not getting the investment capital to grow the economy, to create the jobs for them to come back to.
Yes.
Right? And we can't help the private sector to create the enabling environment because the THA just don't have the funds.
Right.
$240 million to do development for our whole island 5 years. It's a kind of conversation. It's a kind of conversation that we need to have continuously with Trinidad and Tobago and those Tobagonians for them to understand the economic constraint in which Tobago operates in. Because you see what they're going to do. They are going to judge you based on their understanding of what is happening.
Indeed.
And if you don't bring the reality towards them and explain to them why we are constrained.
Yes.
Right? Why we are constrained. Why we are limited. Because the THA is a spending agency and you can only effect transformation and growth through the expenditure of the THA. And if they give you a little bit of money, you can't do that.
Right.
You create a clean path.
Yes.
If you have plenty of money, you spend it effectively and efficiently, you create a big impact.
Yes.
To be good and get bigger. That is reality.
Right.
So then we come back to the training. So we're training people.
Yes.
But we are losing them.
Yeah.
Also. So what we need to do, we need to create these strategic training initiatives
that are going to keep our young people occupied, productive, and creative. Like when we talk about this in food, right? There are other areas. There are no smart agriculture technology. There are young people like agriculture. All of us have our calling. Yes. Let us get into training them. And we set up the TARI, the Agriculture, Tobago Agriculture Research Institute, which is really the flagship training for agriculture at Kendall Farm School that is coming on the street. Right? Secretary Pantin, right? That is what to produce. And Tobagonians who are training smart agriculture, new agricultural technique, how you use digital solution in agriculture.
Yes.
You know, that's what the world is.
Yes.
So we have to expose our people there because that is the thing that excites them. You can't go and tell my son and them to go and dig a dash, talk down that. You have to show them and use technology.
Yeah.
If you have plowers and
you're not working hard, you're working wise.
Wise and smart.
Yeah.
And then you have the smart agriculture apps and things.
Yes.
They could buy a whistleblower that's flying as a drone and spraying cups.
Right.
No, that's
listen, as you said that, I see a demo that a fisherman use a drone to drop the line further out in the sea. You understand? Line with the bait. But you know, and that is where the world is going.
And we have to, we have to play catch up. And we have to be smart. There's a thing called strategic selectivity. I don't want to introduce to the conversation. Strategic selectivity.
Right.
And now we're talking when we talk about this smart.
So here one, and I want us to take a break. We are on the top of the hour. We're going to take a break, catch a break, like that kind of thing.
Drink some water.
Yeah, we have no coffee or nothing here. Yeah. But we will come back, and when we come back, we want to talk about it. I also want us to dive a little further into the present challenges that we are facing, how that impacts the perception of the island and so on, and what else can be done in your view to drive this environment that puts Tobago on the cutting edge, help us to help us to get to the place that we want to get to as this way to decline and impact, right? So we want to ventilate that further. We're taking a break. For those of you who are now joining us, this is Tobago Speaks here on Street 91.9 FM. If you're now joining us, if we're on the live as the people see, you could share it with a friend, somebody, and that kind of thing. Let's take a break. Yeah. Well, those of you that are joining us here on this live experience, we are happy that you are here. We have people from all over: Cynthia, Terance, Alice, Lynette, Leon, Heather.
This is only the best mix of music.
I feel your pain, but we're trying to get the Kathleen, Maureen, Gloria, Nathaniel, Dion, Tilly, Raquel. Thank you guys for joining us in the conversation. All right? We're back in the mix, and you know the song you're hearing in the background is a Bojo Banton special destiny. We want to rule we want destiny, and that is the mantra of the average Tobagonian. We have come of age, and we're trying to take our destiny in our own hand. We have left that in the hands of some custodians for quite some time. But we feel the time has come for us because we know more than everybody else what is good for us. We are thankful that we have been afforded this opportunity at this time to serve in the urbanized landscape. And when I say we, I mean the present, the crop of leaders that have been afforded this privilege by the people of Tobago. And we feel that if we don't get it right this time, that history will not be very kind to us. And so the reason why we have this particular radio program and other programs like it, and why we are voicing our opinions and so on, we are trying to mobilize the Tobago space. We are trying to evangelize Tobago and get them on board with the gospel of autonomy, of running your own affairs. And this requires an all-island engagement. And so, we are discussing a myriad of issues and so on, and how that impacts the political landscape, how that impacts the development of Tobago. And we are talking with a dear friend of mine, Mr. Anselm Richards, who is a very learned man. He has a very wide range of perspectives on matters relating to development, relating to security and all that, and the impact that has on the island and its development. So, Anselm, we know what the problem is. We've seen the problem. We've been, as a government, we've been doing what we can to try and treat with this head on. Let's talk now about the politics of the day and the correlation between that and the present climate in the Tobago space.
So we have a political and constitutional situation that really is.
Let me ask you a voice for
yes. So we have a situation, and I think it's historical.
Yes.
And it's not a new situation, but it's a situation that requires urgent attention and immediate intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the situation is that Tobago has struggled, I mean, over 50 years for Tobago right to self-determination. And let me say at this point that the concept of self-determination in the context of Trinidad and Tobago and greater autonomy for Tobago doesn't mean separation or dissolution of the state of Trinidad. What it means is that we have two islands, we have two people, we have two countries, and a government must be separate. The people in Tobago has constitutional authority to govern their states, to make laws to regulate their conduct and how they should interact. We can create our Tobago Bill of Rights. In the United States, may I say, there is a federal constitution and there is 50 constitutions for every state.
Yes.
Have their own constitution.
Yes.
And they are functioning as the United States of America. Right? What is the difficulty in setting up a governance structure, a constitutional arrangement that recognizes a government of Trinidad and a government of Tobago and a federal arrangement?
Yes.
If we want, as they did in Tanzania and Zanzibar, where the government of the national parliament, if you could call it that, functioned as the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and they have their areas of responsibility.
Yeah.
The government of Trinidad has areas of responsibility designated in the constitution for Trinidad. Tobago Island government has its areas of final constitutional responsibility for matters that are pertinent and important to the people of Tobago, and has the right to make law.
Yeah.
The fundamental issue that people need to understand in this internal self-government and autonomy conversation is the constitutional right to law to determine how you function as a society.
Yes.
If you recall, when there was the controversial or the thing between the Prime Minister and the Chief Secretary, when the Prime Minister responded at his news conference, he said, "No, it's not matter the size of the canal."
Yes.
Or, no, it doesn't matter the size of the top dog,
Yes.
the size of the canal.
Yes.
They can't make law.
Yes.
The heart of this constitutional issue between Trinidad and Tobago, it is our right, our human, our constitutional right that have been denied for years to make law for the governance of the people. They say people
It is written in the media, right? It is, and safety, and it speaks to safety too. Because we can sit in Tobago and design a society that is unique to the cultural heritage and experiences of the people of Tobago.
Sure.
We are being governed by an arrangement that is determined elsewhere, which is, for me, and I've said it over about it, it constitutes constitutional colonization. Right?
Yes.
I'm not
But it is true in terms of its manifestation.
You know me, I've said it before.
Yes.
And I continue to say it until this situation is let me tell you, once I have strength and breath in my body, I will continue to make this representation.
Yes.
What exists between Trinidad and Tobago, and how Tobago is featured in this arrangement, is nothing less than constitutional colonization.
Yes.
I have said recently, what is happening in the Gaza Strip between Israel and the Palestine can easily happen, or has happened in different formation between Trinidad and Tobago. Because when you have a government in Trinidad to come and occupy your space,
Yes.
I don't want to go to no license officer conversation with them at that. Because I come here for controversy. I just want to point out some reality to the listeners and to the wider community. Like how this thing is playing on this psyche of Tobago and how it is affecting us as a people, how it is affecting our social and economic development, our psychological. This is a serious issue.
Sure.
And we need to face the facts, and we need to confront the issue with the level of understanding and passion and deliberation and commitment that is necessary to change our
Right, right. Because and Slim, this program we try to be passionate and we try to discuss the realities. But there is the average Tobagonian can feel that state agencies have been weaponized against the Tobagonian. Well, you understand? From what we have seen in more recent months. So which feeds into the point that I'm just making, that we are really dealing with constitutional colonization. So I am agreeing with you 100%.
But all the power,
yes.
And it is easy to activate and organize when you have a central government over what happens in the space, and you really have no constitutional legislative force to really push off a central government and say, hey, you can't do that because the defining parameters are not clear, and the central government have an overweight authority.
Yes.
Use that overweight. You know, they have an overweight person.
Yes.
They have an overweight authority in the Tobago.
Yes.
And we need to deal with that obesity that is present in the constitution. Right? We need to clean that. We need to do the surgery and cut off the fat. You know, and ensure that we have a constitutional arrangement between Trinidad and Tobago that speaks to island rights. What are the rights?
Yes.
Dignifying rights of the people. Right? And that should fit in the constitution. What is the dignifying rights of the people of Trinidad? And then when you do that, you say, what are we prepared to see, to give up to an entity that we look at these things for both of us?
Right.
That's how you form government.
Yes.
Right? So you start with that. What are our fundamental island rights as a people? We have a right to create the laws to govern how we live, how we operate society, what our bill of rights could be. They could do their own thing in Trinidad, what their bill of rights and so forth. And we forget that we establish a structure of government to superintend and oversee that bill of rights and the equality and how the society functions and so forth. They do that in Trinidad. And then we say, okay, this country is Trinidad and Tobago. What are the things that we prepare to give up from those island rights that we start with the initial foundation of our society? What are we prepared to give up to an entity called the government of Trinidad and Tobago?
Right.
So it's a three-tier system. It is an easy system. We have done the work before. It's not a new argument. It's not a new concept. But it's just that some people, in some places, in Tobago and in Trinidad, are that Tobago should not have the right to do certain things.
Right.
And that somebody in some remote location should do it for us. Right?
Do you think that people do not respect the fact that we are two separate islands, culturally different in terms of our philosophy of life and that kind of thing, and therefore one prescription cannot fit both prescriptions?
Two different people, one nation. That is the question.
Yes.
And therefore, it cannot be, and it's two separate physical spaces, two different issues. history.
Yes.
History. Two different history. Right? There's a Trinidad history, there's a Tobago history. That makes us two unique group of people. Right? So we have the Trinidadian, we have the Tobago, but we form one nation.
Right.
The constitution needs to take on those manifestations. If these places will run the kind of harmony and productivity that can happen. And it's not our weakness, it is a strength.
Because
I feel that is our weakness.
but you want to ask yes. Do you think that there's a legitimate fear that if Tobago is afforded the resources, afforded all the constitutional support that it desires, that people think that Tobago is going to take off in this manner, that when you make the assessment per capita, it may go past larger jurisdictions, including Trinidad. I'm talking about in terms of its size and what it can accomplish. Do you think there's a legitimate fear?
There's a fear. And the fear consists of many moving parts. That is a fact. But I think the fear or the foundation of the fear is the fact that, we have been doing it so since independence, and what we want to change it now for, and they don't want to engage in creative thinking and exploring and exploring new frontiers to see how and things. And that's why the society is stuck. That's why the society is stuck. You understand? That's why we have even diversified the economy. We have been doing oil and gas 100 years plus, and we can't move. And oil is going to be history. And we're still talking about Jack and field gas in Venezuela. And it's a kind of brain dead scenario that people say we have been doing it so, and why you're changing, like they eat people all their life.
Yes. But I am suspicious too, Anselm. I am suspicious that there are some people that need to be able to remain as it is. There are some people that have some interest, people elsewhere, because of interest in Tobago remaining. Because you see, when you give a man independence, right? He could disagree with it. He could speak up as an independent man because his rights is not dependent on you. You understand what I'm saying? So is it the fear of losing control?
Of course, remember you had the story with the Igbos and the
Yes.
It's the same thing. The king has come.
Yes.
It's the same point I was making. So it's at different level. So in Tobago, the same level was to get to be willing to come and kneel at the office door and ask for a work.
Yes.
Empower them so that they could be creative and explore and exploit their creativity.
Yes.
And earn and accumulate for themselves and their family and grow the economy by extension and create opportunity for others. It is the same kind of mentality that they want you to come and ask every year, I want $3 to do some development to do, and they say, now I can't get 3 or get 1.2,
right,
or you will get 5. So they have that level of control over it, right? And they don't want the thing to be structured in such a way that the constitutional arrangement for the appropriation will say you should get 5%, and when they do the math, they say the country have 5% to spend, 5% of that for me, you do $1. We'll do the math, wherever it is. I say that, and nobody can argue. And no minister of finance can say, now they get 5%, they get 3%. Because by law and by fairness and by equity and equality, that is based on the population side and other dynamics, that is the share to the donor side for the national. So there are a number of factors at play. But I think the fundamental thing is that we have to go back to some of the basic principles on the societies and how societies interact.
Right.
And I think that the country needs to have a different level of conversation, because the situation is not only affecting Tobago, it's affecting Trinidad and Tobago.
Sure.
This situation could be so much. Tobago can be so much more than it is now, and it has been since this kind of constitutional colonization that we are robbing the Tobagonians, but Trinidadians and Tobagonians of the potential capabilities that Tobago can deliver and present in this space that will impact the lives of all of us.
Yes, because there are some people in Port of Spain who are of the view, they say it in fact, that Tobago contributes nothing to the union. And that kind of, I mean, it is a backward logic, really.
So it's part of the narrative
Yes.
being
Yes.
carried on.
Yes.
So you will come begging.
Yes, yes.
But if you are wise and you are progressive in your thoughts and you have and you go for something this,
Yes.
you will know that Tobago has culture.
Yeah, but there's no facts to it.
And Tobago is contributing significantly to the national development of
course.
How many prime minister we have had?
But
Let's go there,
yeah.
right? With Chief Justice,
yes.
Commissioner of Police.
Yes.
Right now, the Deputy Commissioner of Police is at Tobago there.
Right. I mean, we have excelled in every discipline.
It's all.
Every discipline.
And we're 25% of the population.
Yes.
And we have supplied the nation with scholars. We just lost one of our good friends, Reginald Dumas, head of the public service, diplomat extraordinaire.
Yes.
You know, and so we have done well.
Yes.
We have done well, and we must celebrate those things, and we must speak of them proudly and firmly to and let Tobago have done well. Tobago have produced. Tobago have led this nation in so many ways and in so many aspects of our national development.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Beverly Ramsey Moore, Passenger Jammers,
Yes.
Deuce.
Yes.
We have done well. Right? We have national scholars. We have
Yes.
written our history.
Sure.
So I will debate that, and I just
So
I will debate that.
you know, just by that segue, it feeds into the point that I was making, that there is a legitimate fear,
Of course.
that in the minds that in the present conditions, even with the circumstances that to deal with, even with the weaponizing the funding against the Tobago government and so on, that we continue to forge ahead. And we see infrastructural development going at supersonic speed, and everything that could be done to try and stop that is afoot and so on. And so there's a legitimate fear in my view that if the present conditions that they are living in, they are still able to do it, what will they do if they are afforded what they're actually going after?
There will be a fear in politics, and especially when you have competing administration in the different political arenas.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, and let me tell you this, and I don't know if you understand, but if you probably look at it from this angle, when you look at the national construct and the national politics at stake, controlling the treasury for the government of Trinidad, you're talking about access to all the state institutions, and you're talking about access to over $55 billion a year.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about weaponizing state institutions, so that is what triggers that will drive our government to want to power. And then you have to spend $55-60 billion a year, right? And then when you look at the country, you recognize that the current reality is that there's a one-seat majority in the national political show, yes. And then there's a two-seat in Tobago, yes. That change political dynamics. So then, are you so politically naive to think that an incumbent national government will be so kind of to you and empower you to do so well that they would not be able to retain the two seats in Tobago and put them out of power? You answer that question. I don't just leave it at that. I have no other say. That's the kind of
yes.
And that's an administration that seeks to retain power.
Yes.
And it do everything stymie and restrict the ability of the opponent to gain power. Right? I'm just saying that is how politics plays out. Right? Even within political parties, you have those activities and action taking place. If you are part of a political party and the leader feel that you will rise too fast and so forth, but something you don't want you to come in, you don't want to give up. Caribbean politicians they like to get office.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we are experiencing here in Trinidad and Tobago, in terms of the philosophy of leaders, it's not endemic to the space.
As I'm saying, it's a regional.
Yes.
People don't want to give up.
Perhaps do global. Yeah, that's
But in some aspects,
yes.
so man changing constitution or we want to be president for life and
Of course.
So it's human condition.
Yes.
So if you want to sit into it and feel that somebody want to be able to work in office, you'll be yes. And we'll be hugging up with you, but we have monetary policy
Yes.
that will inform the capital and so forth to drive economic transformation in the public sector and private sector and so forth. Right? You have fiscal policy, right? And then you have your expenditure with your program. In the case of today, and the constitutional arrangement and the legal construct of government of Trinidad and the government of Tobago does not have any law.
Right.
So you can't do that. So that leave an estimate.
Yes.
It doesn't have any fiscal authority. You can't make no tax policy. And three, you don't have no money. You have no influence over interest rate and what you can do with money. So I also impact interest rate. The only lever that Tobago has is the spending option. The spending option. And the spending option is conditional on how much money you get from government. So you see how we are still? Yes. And the cargo, the law, say the cargo without water space, say yes, they go. So your survival is dependent on the goodwill and the milk of human kindness of the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. Yes. So what happened last? In fiscal 2023, we got $400 million for development. In fiscal 2024, the Cabinet side, we get 260. They cut it by $140 million. 5%. It means your lever for development have been reduced by 35%.
Right.
So you charge, so you start at minus 35% of capacity.
Right.
To do anything for the development. That is the kind of conversation we have to sit down and do.
And the
understand what is happening and we have been doing it.
And the demand continue to grow.
So and living in a time, a regional experience where we are having increased demand in social sector.
Yes.
So look at the cash position. Government orders cutting allocation.
Yes.
They're spending, and that is the only have because it's true sector because
Yes.
it's not just like disposal.
Yes.
Until we fix the economy.
Right.
So the government is not funding you. So that you have to program for your budget is set to them. And if you need less than the last year, when you have inflation,
Yes.
rising social demand, meaning the social sector, people are employment, people are health, or this, because we still carrying out from the impacts on the ravaging of COVID-19.
Yes.
So I hope understanding very logical and so understanding and if only when you will come to that place of stand, that will rise up the numbers and then those who are treating all of us collectively, because when they do that, they cut our allocation by 5%. That is collective punishment.
Yes.
And even those on the other side who are not supporting their mission, they are being punished too.
Of course, that is it. People get pressure to be able to reach a big is that Tobago for
No,
but
but
people who support one political party, that's like that difficult for me to understand.
I can't understand. I try to unravel it all. How I'm born and bred to be living here for all life. Grew up in this system, understand what is happening. Get elected to represent the people. I've got to match it. And I'm going to be blessed. I can't understand. I go in the parliament and say them
Indeed.
they represent the people that together. I'm telling you, I don't understand. I have to be and justify.
Yes.
To be
Yes.
and when the Senate say they owe to $166 for he said we are.
Well, I mean, this particular general talking about, I really respect him, so I wasn't bothered because
What
he's not strong, he's to very honest.
Terry, I will just
But I'm saying, you are different in that regard. I already made some passes on telling that truth as it relates to something that is happening in this, and I lose respect, period. I just say, I am disrespectful of office. London.
But that I mean, like, but we don't have any space. We don't operate in here. You tell you what, yes, when you come up, you're and for that, all answer which is about. But the gentleman that we just talk with the cute idea and what I appeared before the committee, that's the issue. He was part of me. And that man, because he profitability a child, you work at Tobago. And I had a this commitment. This program design and technique to bring financial to the teaching practice and changing national policy. I even asked them, the government has spent $100 million on Carnival in Trinidad. But is it returned to the government? And shut down the whole
Yes.
I mean, you know, time you put it of course, right? But you said the administration make a decision to charge off your money for jazz. They cut your allocation for your development program.
Yes. And then we are going to $6 million.
I'm saying that you need to take these things to be done. So what we do is they say because they ain't money to most of the jazz. They have one kind of thing. They have this popping up. Budget.
Right.
We are the group who fight to say people
Yes.
first.
Yes.
Finally, starting to be. It's about strategic. So what you have, what they give you, you can't make choices. You don't have what does it have?
Indeed.
So,
It's
and
fiscal.
if we don't need another position.
Yes.
This year, who was asked for the viability, the economic viability of the
Yes.
asked you the transition.
Yes.
So I hate to make it. He was saying it again.
Yes.
What was the law?
Listen, that's what
I just said.
point. We are respectfully. But
I will just show the consistency of the
sure.
and people make
Right.
because we have to action as this as leaders. I mean, this is the fight and the personal is natural. What I mean is that always
I have no problem.
all in your house, all
That
in
is
your
true.
but the decision is not to talk to somebody, to do somebody else. My philosophy.
Listen, you and I have a in.
Exactly. So
Yeah, I understand.
that's why
I understand there are some things that are really important for us of the profession. You understand? But there's some fundamental we discuss there. I mean, you and other people asking these questions. If an organization try to bring down so this now we need to go that the government has to be on the other side. It speaks of it is void of any integrity. That is, you understand?
they will just it's there.
Yes. Yeah, we are running and blocking them. Of course.
When you see him, 21 December, it's 40. When you wake up, when they take him, watch and they watch guy, we into the movement. And when all
Yes. Yes.
people and they are taking note. Be careful about it, how we should do it. Even though as
Yes.
so we see serious situation and I think that to be with actual potential is right now and issue.
Agree.
There are constitutional restrictions, there are constitutional factors that blocking the exclusion potential. Unlock our full development plan, total innovation, fundamental nature, and reorganizing constitutional limits current case on the want to
Agree.
That's fundamental requirement to go to transformation. But as I said, it's how you the society, how you dominate legal matters. For instance, we want foreign and the as an island to offer people. We can't incentive into the country. We have to go through this long negotiation with their finance and all of that. Those things are expensive. I mean, and use the impact of the government function and require us to have decisions so that we give them more, interest that they can stand up and know what is happening.
Right.
They are really people fighting for the welfare. Those who are just playing this.
Yes.
Right. And the life of their children.
Let me ask you this question. All challenges because I'm not problem in your assessment, how is Tobago doing? The present how do it?
Remember,
Yes. Yes.
right? Constraint that you know, navigate money from $50 to pay. It was right? Engineering action to satisfy social.
Yes.
People want.
Indeed.
We have real people who are Jew, school, university, and they use good to create, right? You get something more than a 1.59 billion. It's quite high.
And to build that.
So we are struggling. I'm saying that struggling. We have a vicious.
Yes.
And I did not say that. Some including last 2 years, but because our power is impact and delivery.
Yes.
Right? We have makers, or it is we have no budget and so fundamental areas. Understand the political that I think core conditioning factors national idea and what we saw the bad for government the was popularity of yes. Don't ever put us in so we have those right we have seen restitution. We have got publication and machine is concerned. That is a problem. So, I want to do it. I want to be serious in as an institution. Have to have technical society problem as a institution. In that late again. Right. That is which you can constitute. There is no apology for it's the truth. National security, security. No significant causes and in the way things that people don't making us to and it is excellent. And when they is the simplicity of things and it make you that you want to know right. What I generally study program instantly right. And their rules and their experience. So the mental requirement attention. Right? And that is the usage of what yes, fluid and dynamic. We are wasting. We utilize the protect the budget just in a nation. Need agencies that Estonia look at our seas as well as in and this is long
Yeah.
Addiction is manifest go through it to understand and as an implement.
No, you know, as I say, moving of Asia, that they lose this thing that drive you is important flame. And the issue of discipline deal with. So what is that? We are at the we are infrastructure that mentioned right. Did that follow from skill that then going indeed we don't have civilian yeah.
Remember, here some similar and this some of the participants cost within that. This is alone. We have to for the camera. All those ideas. We have from one death
and that we are using here to make up the reaction. Also use this area. Let's about within what everybody feel equal. See every